Welcome to more Gran Turismo Sports Specialtatin. Today we're featuring the FIA Nations Cup kart race at, I guarantee I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Is it Tsukuba? That's generally what I say, but I don't know really. There's never any races on at this track where I live, so I just never really heard it said. But y'all know what it is. It's the new track. And I'm good at karts. I think that's fair to say. So, hopefully, this should be a good race. Pretty new track for this game. With vehicles I'm good at, maybe, just maybe, this can actually be a nice, clean race. Last kart race, in my opinion, was clean, and everyone's opinion in the race was clean, but, well, there was a whole heck of a heap of penalties, nonetheless. So, anyway, this is now, and new track. And I mean, I'm recording it in this view for a reason, as I've said in other videos. So anyway, let's go back to more of the, I guess, better battle right now, because I was actually the fastest in the Americas region, both in practice and in qualifying for this race. I got the pole by about 6/10 of a second. So that should work out pretty good for me. Also, something that I think is working out pretty good for me too is that I now have a new phone, which I'll put in the title as well. So if y'all like this, then that's good. I'll record more with the phone. And as far as I can tell, y'all will probably like this. This phone is a lot better than my old one, that's for sure. And this race seems to be a lot better than the previous one, that's for sure. Previous one was more chaotic, there was more karts up in the front, but honestly the penalties didn't allow them to actually truly race each other. It was more guesswork and adapt. As far as I know, us top two are close enough where we shouldn't really need to adapt. We can kind of just race our own race from what it's looking like. We'll see though. And as of now, we're giving each other enough room too, or hopefully no matter what the penalty system does, it's fine. Which is good to do early in the race. This works for now, especially when third is relatively far back. But the more racing we get, in theory, the closer third will get. So, I don't know. We'll see, folks. We'll see. Also, one thing that I can already tell with the new phone is its camera displacement, or whatever that's called. Like, the field of view with the camera is different than my old phone. So, given I'm only going to be at my college for like a week and a half more, I'm not sure how much I can do about recording at my college for how much of the screen is actually on, because I'm having to like hold it back or whatever to show the full screen right now, and that's kind of not the easiest to do in terms of keeping the phone steady. So, it may not be perfect, but from what I can tell, just looking through the camera lens itself and recording it, it is better. So I hope y'all are indeed enjoying this. From what I can tell, it's easier to keep it stable as well because the phone is lighter. So hopefully that helps too. But anyway, back to the race and staying at the race at this point. If y'all have opinions on how well the new phone looks, leave that in the comments, whatever, and I'll comment back or leave it on GT Planet or whatever. But anyway, now for the race, because it's not really getting down to the real important bits yet. But, well, it is sort of kind of important, the fact that I'm in second, and, well, I don't want to stay there. I wasn't all that aggressive when the new leader passed, just because it is pretty early in the race still, but I need to just be leery of how he did it, and then how I can do it back, in theory, the same way. And just how everybody's lines are, too. But everybody has now, I mean, the top two, but again, we're relatively racy. We're giving each other room, though. That's good. Yeah, there wasn't any contact there. Second went out a bit more wide to give me more room, and we get the spot right back because draft is overpowered. That's one of the things, too, I've said in the beginning from the beginning with karts, and I think a lot of people said this in general, is kart physics are downright not very realistic, especially in terms of drafting, but it makes for really good racing, though. And it actually gives enough room where people can actually do passes in a way that gets clear before turn in a lot of circumstances. Karts in general aren't the fastest in the world just because they only have like 49 horsepower. So that's a good thing to have with these. Another good thing to have with these too is open air, clean air or whatever. I mean, you can fit 3 carts around pretty much all the turns around this track, but carts are so fidgety you don't necessarily want to do that with the penalty system. And well, we got that as of now. Even with us two continuing to battle, it does seem like we are both pulling away from third. So I'll gladly continue the battle as long as third does not catch up, and it seems like the driver literally right next to me is perfectly fine with that as well. So that's definitely a good thing, because it makes the racing better, so y'all can enjoy it more. And maybe, just maybe, it can actually make it continue, because as of now, from what I can tell, neither of us have a penalty. It's impossible to really tell what the other driver has still, unless it shows up on mine as well, meaning that I have a penalty. But, well, I'll just go ahead and say this now, because it is pretty far into the race. I actually do not have a penalty the entire race. I ain't gonna quite say yet for the other driver, but for now I will say that I don't, so that's a good thing right yonder. And also, I know I said I wasn't gonna mention the phone again, but this seems sort of kind of worth mentioning as well. Is the sound good on this? You know, it's kind of hard to tell when I'm recording as well. And also, it's mid-April, but yet I still have the cotton picking heat on because today it snowed in mid-April in Kentucky. For Jiminy Cricket's sakes, that's annoying. So y'all might hear the heater in the background or something, but I would think that sound is going to be better too, because from what I can already tell, the picture is better. So in theory, those two go together. But anyway, now completely to the race as well. There's really not all that much more to report. I mean, look at third, fourth, fifth. Fourth and fifth are a good battle, but really no better than first and second. And well, first and second is the most quote-unquote important battle, just because it's the highest up battle. I mean, importance is kind of in the eye of the holder or whatever. People racing for points more. It may depend on where they are in the total points of what battle ends up being more important in the long run. I don't think I'm going to race for points this session, just because I don't really have time to yet. But the only races I really have time to do is kinda sorta Thursday, but not really. Maybe Friday or Saturday, depending on circumstances. Sunday, I can kinda sorta make time, and then usually not Monday and Tuesday. But again, I'll be on summer vacation in a little while, so that will help with the racing too, which should help with the videos too, and then yay. Also, I don't think I mentioned Wednesday. I don't think. Wednesday I can kind of record because it's less classes that day, but or record as of doing races, and then I might record them later, but whatever. That's actually not for too much longer. So this is now, and this is still pretty caught picking good. And even though this is an FIA race, which means they're longer in general, it's already almost to the halfway point. Karts on this track are faster by a whole heck of a heap than Nismo GTRs. Which, in a way, doesn't make sense. It does make sense in the fact that they're exponentially lighter. But it doesn't make sense in the fact of, in the old game, GT6 karts were about, or these particular karts were like 580 performance points or something like that. And the Nismo GTR was also around about that, so in theory they'd have around about the same times as well. The best time in the GTR was like a 59 point something. Best time in the karts, worldwide, was a 56.4. I actually ended up being the best in the Americas region with a 56.6. In qualifying with draft, I did a 56.3. Probably the maximum with draft would be somewhere or about a 1 or so, but it didn't matter anyway because I got the pole. So that's something. I don't really know if it's a good or bad something, but it definitely is something. And I guess it will continue on being something in the sense of the draft part. The draft part will continue to matter, mainly just because that's the point of this racing. It's who can get the draft at the right time to try to make a pass. It's about to be the right time because it's about to be the straightaway. So let's see what can happen here, folks. This is more testing the camera That actually doesn't look... it doesn't look great, at least from my end. It looks okay there, but then, yeah, keep it from like here on out, I think. At least from my end of it. Maybe y'all, if you on YouTube, or get it differently than live recording it, I don't know, but... Either way, zoomed in or not zoomed in, it's pretty obvious I'm coming up slowly. Slowly but surely. And I'm pretty much in draft at this point, so that means I might have a chance to make a pass at some point. This is getting dramatic, folks. Let's put it under dramatic cinematic cam, because I didn't actually have to record this of the live feed because I didn't get a penalty. Hallelujah. Will I be able to make a pass on a straight? It's going to come down to drafting technique and whether first place blocks. I'm coming in as good as I can. I got a nice run off that turn, so I'm going to go on the high side here because the leader's on the inside. So will I be able to make a pass on the outside coming down to the start-finish line? I get close, but no cigar. And also that accent wasn't all that close to anything good, was it? Also, I'm just going to say this once and only once. The Easter egg in the Easter video, it was kind of somebody that y'all may or may not know, depending on how long you've been on the channel, for doing an accent sort of kind of like that. If y'all like that sort of kind of accent, I can kind of do it. That person can kind of also do it, but I'm just going to leave that there and probably not mention it again. But y'all might know what I'm talking about, so yeah. Anyway. I wasn't able to make the pass the first time around, but I don't have that many more times around. I'm not really yet worrying, but I'm kind of in the point of I need to definitely survey my options, though, too. It's more of a get information at this point than just kind of ride around. Probably the first 8 or 9 laps I was more riding around just to get the feel of how each of us are going. Now I'm getting a feel of how I can go past. Honestly, there's really only like 2 lead changes this entire race so far. Just because, as I've always said, I'm better applying than avoiding pressure. And just I don't want to risk a penalty, so I'm purposely staying back just because, well, that reason mainly. I don't know if the leader's thinking the same mindset I am, but if I don't ever try to pass, then I guess the leader will continue on as they are, because that's how it's gone so far. I'm okay with that for right now. And honestly, right now, and probably for the rest of the race, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about third. I don't think third is losing tons of time, but there's a good bit of time in between third and us top 2. So from what I can tell, we can battle however we want, as long as it's clean. But as of now, it's been clean. I think that's a fair assumption. And Jiminy Cricket, the inside line is definitely the best line there. It juked out even my camera work there. I didn't think it got that good of a run off, but whatever. It definitely worked out for the first place driver there, but that was going into the beginning of the lap, so it doesn't matter too much, because honestly, what's going to make or break this race, I don't even think this is a secret or anything. This isn't even something to wait worth telling to the end of the race. It's going to just be who gets the best run on this part. If I can do that on the last lap, I'm probably going to win the race. Because I got such a good run, first couldn't really go down the block in time, so if I can do that, then maybe, just maybe, I can get a win. Because it's looking like I'm going to Jiminy Cricket. It's actually a drag race, isn't it? I think the driver literally right next to me led that. But that was really caught me close. If I can do that same thing on the last lap, I'm probably going to go a bit harder. But again, so with that driver in front too. So at least I know that I can do something using that strategy to just get a heck of a heap of a run going on to that final straight. If I get a heck of a heap of enough of a run, then the first can't do anything because you won't be able to go down the block in time. But I'm going to have to definitely remember that, because it's too early to really do that and keep the lead at this point just because draft is so overpowered. The leader knows how to block and I know how to follow. I'm not sure if I know how to block or if who would then be in second knows how to follow, because we haven't done that much this race, so it's probably not really worth doing now. Because we don't really want to mess each other up when there's not all that much time to catch back up if we do. Or at least that's my mindset, so that's probably what I'm going to stay at. And I think that's the leader's mindset too, even the leader is continuing to go to the bottom there. Which is fine with me. I don't really consider going to the bottom anything dirty. I'd do the same thing, maybe. Probably at this point, yes, I would do the same thing if I was in the lead. Maybe lap 8 or something, I wouldn't. But now that it's lap 16, yeah, I probably would do the same thing. But anyway, at this point it doesn't really matter that many things, because we're kind of both doing the same thing. So, the variation of the thing would be exactly as I said before. I'm just going to have to get a whole heck of a heap of run off that last turn that was on there. So I kind of sort of did that. I think at this point the leaders are just kind of surveying what works and what doesn't. And yeah, that pretty much means whoever gets to the bottom into the last turn is going to win the race there. So, I mean, I could try to stay in the lead here, but again, there's draft. So, yeah. I feel like my best bet is to get draft on the last straight, which AK means I'm going to have to be behind in order to get the inside to the last turn. So I really see no point in being in the lead right now, honestly. And honestly, that scared me a little bit because that driver did not exactly look transparent. Maybe it's just because they're carts and it's harder to tell with them because they're smaller. But luckily it was. No harm, no foul. I'm still in a draft, so no big deal. Actually, in a way, that kind of helps me, because it's getting down to the point of maybe I do just want to go ahead and get a pass if I get a big opportunity to. Because this straight coming up is good enough where maybe I can get a run as well, and if I can just get to the inside of turn 1 with a lot of run, maybe I can get a big enough of a gap where I can actually do something. Or not, actually, wasn't even that close. Jiminy Cricket first is really fast now. First figured out the card, honestly, as good as I did too. I think we're both pretty equal in the long term. Maybe I was legitimately faster in qualifying, but at this point it doesn't matter because I'm in second and we seem pretty equal. Obviously, draft is a great equalizer that'll probably end up putting me slightly ahead if I use it correctly. But again, it's not quite to that point yet, so it's getting down to the dramatic bit of can I actually get to a point of where I can make the move that I want to. Which is here, pretty much, just a little bit later. I think I can make the move, though. Because, honestly, they're just straight up ain't blocking in carts, even with good penalties, because carts are so fidgety, they're so light, just barely a touch equals a wreck. And while we might both wreck, and somebody may recover better than the other one, I don't really think either of us want to risk that. So if I can get to the inside, coming around that last tight turn, I think pretty much no matter what I got it. So I'm going to go ahead and start preparing for that, which pretty much means backing off. First is really being the defending there. I guess I can't really blame him, but I'm probably not going to pass in that bit of the track unless first and right wrecks. So that kind of changes my strategy up a little bit because I actually had to slow down a slight bit more than I actually wanted to, because first kind of slowed down a slight bit more to try to block. Right now I want to be relatively far back so that I can get a big draft pull. But that also means first has that much more time to block as well. But either or, I can't really do all that much right now. I'll put pressure on. Because at this point, if it messes up, then whatever, I win no matter what the strategy is, probably. But I want to just make sure that I can do something going into that final tight turn. Whatever it is that I do, I just want to make sure that it's something. Which actually, it looks like I'm in about a perfect circumstance to do that, because I'm going to get a draft pull here, which means I have the momentum. So this is by far my best chance. Because now I can go into the turn exactly how I want to, right on the leader's back bumper. I got a whole heck of a heap of a run out. So this is pretty much it. I might be able to slingshot and get the inside by the time the actual turn starts. It's going to be really caught and picking close. Well, it's 70 cricket. I missed it by like 6 inches. Well, good job to the leader there. Wait a cotton picking minute. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say this right out. Yeah, I won, but I didn't really deserve to win that race. I was faster in qualifying, but that was about it. We both were pretty cotton picking equal in the race, and just the leader was better about managing the lead. I don't know how first place deserved a penalty in any of that, or who crossed the line first. In my opinion, that driver deserves the win. And I can already tell my phone is not focusing in on that very good, so that's gonna be a bit of a negative, but still, either way, that driver deserved to win there, but whatever, I'll take it, but I took it in vain or whatever, I didn't really deserve that one, so I'd say that's still worth a yeehaw, but the penalty system is still rearing its ugly head. Even about a perfect race as you can have, there wasn't really any contact that entire race, whether there's incident or not. I literally can't think of one instance that entire race where we made contact. Penalty system is still far from a yeehaw, but I guess this race was as well. And I got a new phone, so both of those things combined are most definitely worth a yeehaw.